Hello and welcome for joining me. This little video is how to explain the technique for air pressure conversion. How do we convert millibars to station model or station model information to millibars? So we'll start with the easier side. If I actually give you the actual air pressure that is being measured, how do we put that on a station model? For this video, you're going to want your reference table and you're going to want to open it to page 13. On your reference table, for the station model, you're always going to report 3 digits. And what I like about the reference table is they give you the actual air pressure here, 1019.6 millibars, but notice that only the 196 would go on the reported station model. So here's what you would do. You are only reporting the last 3 digits. Sometimes the pressure starts with a 10, sometimes it starts with a 9. That is because anywhere on Earth's surface, you're going to be experiencing these types of pressures. If you're standing at the ocean, 1 atmosphere is at about 1,013 millibars. So, if you go higher or lower in altitude, your pressure is going to change slightly. So sometimes your number starts with a 9, sometimes it starts with a 10. All right, so here we go. If you had an actual air pressure of 1,028, you are, again, just reporting the last 3 digits. So we're dropping the 10, and we're also going to drop the decimal, and we would report on the station model 280. For the next example, same thing. If your pressure was 1,008.4, I was underline the last 3 digits, drop the 10, drop the decimal. The reason why we drop the 10 and the decimal, honestly, is just to save space. When you're analyzing station models and weather maps, there's so many of these little guys on your map that you want the information as specific as you can get, nice and tight, and so we drop information that we don't really need. So we would report 084. I'm going to note that don't drop that 0. That 0 is really important because it's a placeholder, and it's important that you leave that there. So 084. Our next pressure is down in the 900s. Same technique though. It's the last 3 digits. Drop the 9, drop the decimal, and on the station model we would report 922. For the next one we have 976.6. Drop the 9, drop the decimal. 766 would go on the station model. Last one, drop the 9, drop the decimal. We would have 948. Just always the last 3 digits. So I think it's pretty simple if you're given the actual air pressure to convert it into the station model form. All right, so if you are given a station model on the Regents exam and they say, what is the air pressure? If you say that the air pressure is 281, well, that's not okay because that air pressure does not exist anywhere on Earth's surface. That is way too low. So that's not the actual air pressure. So we're going to make a little note over here. The number that you want to keep in mind is 500. So we're going to write greater than 500, P, when pressure is less than 500, and when pressure is greater than 500. If your number is less than 500, you would add a 10 to the front and put your decimal back in between the last 2 digits. So we have 280. I always just rewrite the numbers they gave me. And this number is less than 500, so I'm going to add a 10 back in front. So your actual pressure is 1028.1. For the next example, we have 206. That's less than 500. So maybe I'll write add 10 in front. If the pressure is greater than 500, we add a 9 back to the front. So 206. 20. I know I'm going to add my decimal in between those last 2 digits. It's less than 500, so I add a 10 to the front. Now, this is a goof on this worksheet. They wouldn't give you 80. That's why I said it's important not to drop that 0. You should always have 3 decimals, not 3 decimals, but 3 place values here. So we'll just add a 1 to the end there and call that 801. If you have a pressure that's greater than 500, we add a 9 back. So we would have 980.1. The next number is less than 500, so we have 16.8. Less than 500, add a 10 back. 800 is greater than 500, so I would add a 980.0. All right, so I think it does take a little bit of an extra step to think that, okay, you have to recognize these numbers are not actual air pressures. They don't exist. One thing you could do when you get your final number is these numbers should be somewhere on this pressure gauge when you're looking in your reference table. So if I made a mistake and I was like, okay, I know it has something to do with 500, but do I add a 10? Do I add a 9? There's actually two things you can do. In your reference table, well, this number is 196. And they give you the actual air pressure right here, which is 1019.6. So if you can remember, oh yeah, okay, this number is less than 500, I'm supposed to add a 10 back in the front. If I made a mistake and I did 900, let's say this is 196 in the reference table, right? And I'm like, I think I add a 9 to the front. That would give you 919.6. That number's not on here. And so that is one way that you can check yourself to see if your atmospheric pressure number makes sense. Nowhere on Earth's surface are you going to have an air pressure of 919.6. That doesn't exist. That the scale doesn't go that low because you're not going to find that. So those are two ways that you can check yourself. So a little recap. If you get the millibars, you just drop the 10 or the 9. Report the last 3 digits. If they give you the last 3 digits on the station model, you would just come back over here to your, okay, is it less than 500 or greater than 500? If it's less than 500, add a 10 to the front. If it's greater than 500, you add a 9 to the front. And then you put your decimal back in between the last 2 digits. I hope this video was helpful. Thanks for watching.